Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining today's stream. It is Saturday, so happy weekend, everybody. 31st of January, 12 p.m. Moscow time, middle of the day. And as always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments. And well, they are quite news, isn't it? Quite stuff is happening from this proxy war that West is waging against Russia to Middle Eastern escalation, Epstein files, unrest in US, and then lot of other things. And I will go through all their topics, by the way. If there are going to be any questions or their comments that I will receive during the stream through support platforms, Super Chat on Rumble or PayPal or Boosty, of course, I will react on it. If by somehow I missed it during this stream, and sometimes it happens, like yesterday, for example, there was a comment and a donation from Alexander G on Boosty, by the way, and I only saw it after the stream, and I will, of course, react on that comment from Alexander G, member of our community, after the news segment. And thank you very much, Alexander. I can see you are in a chatter right now. So thank you very much. And yes, if there are going to be any questions or the comments, of course, I will react on it. And even, it's a Saturday. I'm in no rush. It's -20 outside, by the way. So maybe I will join community. Let's make a little community chatter if there will be interest from your side. And okay, let's go through some news now. And let me start, let's make window bigger. I guess this way is better. Or should it be this way? I don't know. Let's make it bigger, by the way. Okay. And, first news that I want to share with you is that Russian armed forces liberated 3 more settlements in special military operation zone. So Russian troops, according to RIA Novosti, and the report itself is based on Russian Defense Ministry's update, obviously. So Russian troops have liberated 3 settlements in a special military operation zone, Ministry of Defense reported, as a result of decisive actions by units of the Southern Group of Forces. The village of Berestok in the Donetsk People's Republic was liberated within the past 24 hours. Berestok is located on southern side of Konstantinovka, and I was reporting in my previous updates about significant progress of the Russian armed forces in Konstantinovka area, and it was only a matter of time before Berestok would be cleared from hostile forces. Also in Zaporozhye region, the NIB group of forces liberated the settlement of Richnoe. This is western flank of Zaporozhye sector, and Russian troops are getting closer and closer to Zaporozhye city itself. Forward units of Russian troops are now about 15-17 kilometers away from Zaporozhye city, and also Russian forces liberated settlement of Termovatoe, which is also in Zaporozhye region, but on the eastern flank, on northern side from Gulyai Pole. So Russian troops are, let me show you on the map, by the way. So this is Richnoe settlement. This one, by the way. This one is Richnoe settlement on the western flank of Zaporozhye sector, and look at it, by the way. This is already outskirts of Zaporozhye, and distance on a straight line, maybe even less than 15 kilometers at this point, something like that. And obviously for drones, by the way, 15 kilometers is just nothing. Either radio guided or wire guided drones, man. It's literally nothing. So soon we're gonna receive more and more footage of destruction of hostile military personnel and the military equipment inside Zaporozhye itself. Significant progress of the Russian armed forces, of course, and when it comes to eastern flank, well, this is Svatopetrovka settlement that was liberated by Russian forces on the northern side, from Gulay Pole, northern western side from Gulay Pole. And you see now, I was predicting, isn't it, that most likely Russian troops will conduct pincer offensive from western and the eastern flank of Zaporozhye sectors to encircle Orekhov city, major stronghold of the Kiev regime, only major stronghold of the Kiev regime in the central part of the Zaporozhye sector. And clearly that's exactly what is happening. Russian troops are, it's visible already on the map. You can see western part of a pincer, and now it is also clear that pincer is being created on the eastern side too. I don't know how long it will take before these pincers will close, right, and Oreha will be in full encirclement, but process is underway. Also, dear friends, Russian armed forces liberated Ternovate settlement. This is about settlement that Russian Defense Ministry reported, quite a large settlement. Also on the northern side of Zaporozhye region, Defense Ministry did not yet confirm liberation of this Sveta Petrovka, but I guess today, later on, Defense Ministry will confirm this information. So 3 villages, 3 settlements were liberated actually in Zaporozhye region, and another one, 2 of which being confirmed by Defense Ministry, and another one also confirmed by Defense Ministry is Biristok settlement, which is basically southern outskirt of Konstantinovka itself. One of the last remaining strongholds of the Kiev regime in the DPR. There is a Konstantinovka stronghold, which is disputed between the sides right now, divided, and give it a couple of weeks, Russian troops will finalize clearing operation in the settlement. There is also Drushkovka on the northern western side from Konstantinovka, and of course, when it comes to DPR, there is last agglomeration, heavily fortified agglomeration that is still controlled by Kiev regime, which is Slavyansk-Kramatorsk, and Russian troops are getting closer and closer to Slavyansk and Kramatorsk also. And already, by the way, videos are circulating on internet almost on daily basis when Russian militaries are conducting operations on outskirts of Slavyansk and Kramatorsk, and there are videos with the strikes, Russian FPV drone strikes inside of both these cities. That's how close Russian troops actually are to their settlements, and DRGs already are operating on the outskirts, by the way. So that's when it comes to liberated settlements. So let's continue with some other news now. And yesterday, dear friends, I reported that after Trump's statement, it has become clear that some energy truce was reached there between the sides, between Moscow and the Kiev regime. Trump stated that he personally asked Russian president about truce, 1 week truce, right? And reports are, by the way, or the rumors, let's say, that allegedly head of General Staff of Kiev regime, Syrsky, ordered the Kiev regime's militaries not to conduct strikes on energy infrastructure on Russian territory already on 26th of January, right? And reports are that Russian side stopped conducting strikes on energy infrastructure of the Kiev regime after 27th, day later. Russian side also stopped conducting these attacks. Yet again, that's what speculations are on the internet, and we can assume that that's exactly the timing approximately when this agreement was reached about energy ceasefire, because there was confusion, isn't it? Trump only day before yesterday said about energy ceasefire, and if you count the days, and energy ceasefire will last until 1st of February, right? That's the reports. And if you count the days, it's not a week, right? It's only like 3 days or 4 days, right? It's not a week. But if you count from 26th or 27th, then that's a different story. It's more looks like a week ceasefire. And also rumors are that Zelensky himself was not really initiator of this ceasefire. Rumors are that Ukrainian delegation in Abu Dhabi actually asked during their negotiations approximately a week ago, asked American side to contact contact Moscow and ask for energy ceasefire. Initiative allegedly was coming from Budanov, former head of main intelligence directorate of the Kyiv regime and current head of presidential office of Zelensky. And if these rumors are correct, and Zelensky actually didn't knew, right, about it, and if this idea was not actually his, then questions are arising. What the hell is going on inside the regime? Is Budanov now pushing sideways Zelensky? That's what is going on there, or maybe there was some miscommunication between the Zelensky and Budanov. I mean, it is anybody's guess what is happening there, but that's the rumors, right? And yes, ceasefire will last until 1st of February, and because Zelensky was not happy that this ceasefire topic was not linked to him personally, and he loves to be on top of everything, right? He wants his public relations. He's too focused on that. He tried to somehow shift attention from ceasefire to himself while making, again, crazy statements. And yesterday he went to say that, well, they're going to be no withdrawal of Kyiv regime's forces from Donbass, from anywhere. And also he stated that they're not going to acknowledge that Zaporozhye nuclear power plant is controlled by Russia and then there is in Russia, right? And there are many, some experts stated that because factual control of the Zaporozhye power plant is in Russian hands, because Zelensky mentioned this power plant, that can be indicated that soon Zelensky will demand from Kyiv regime's militaries to launch another wave of attacks on Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. Could be case, by the way. So soon we might see escalation in Zaporozhye area, although approximately 2 weeks ago, IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, reported that agreement was reached between Kyiv regime and the Russian side on a ceasefire in Zaporozhye nuclear power plant area. So maybe Zelensky plans to break this agreement in upcoming days, and that's why he mentioned Zaporozhye nuclear power plant in his speech. We will see, we will find out. But yes, Zelensky continues to act tough, and when I say Zelensky, I mean we can assume it's European elites, right? It's globalists, because Zelensky is controlled by globalists, obviously, right? U.S. control over the Zelensky is clearly weaker, much weaker than it was during the Biden's administration, and this is quite understandable. Biden's administration and the Democrats in US are basically wing of the globalists, right? They are globalists. They are part of globalist movement. Not just allies of globalists, but they are globalists. While Republicans and forces that are primarily behind Trump's administration and the Republicans, they are neocons, right? Neocons, some other groups of special interests, and their take, their vision, their plans might differ from plans of the globalists, right? So therefore, after establishment of Trump's administration, U.S. control over Zelensky weakens significantly, and London's control increased and reached absolute terms, right? London is in absolute charge now in terms of Zelensky and Zelensky's decision-making process. At the same time, you should keep in mind that Budanov, a person that Zelensky appointed as a head of his office, Budanov is a sort of insurance for Washington, right? That they're not gonna, or the American ruling class, that they're not gonna lose control completely over the situation they're in Kiev. Some people were suggesting that Budanov is an MI6 asset, but I think Budanov is CIA asset, right? And they might be, generally speaking, MI6 and CIA one team, right? In anti-Russian camp, but nevertheless, they also have some differences between each other, right? And I'm quite sure Washington play out all this game with Naboo and corruption scandals and consequence removal of Yermak from the position of head of Zelensky's office to put in that place their asset, Budanov, as insurance that London not gonna run the show all alone, right? And when I say London, I mean globalists, obviously. So also something to keep in mind when it comes to this power dynamics in terms of Washington-London relationships, globalists and neocons and American ruling class, and also inside the key regime. RIA Novosti is reporting, and by the way, if probably you have questions how Russian society received, the public reacted on this energy ceasefire topic, and reaction from what I can tell from my observation from the comment sections that I monitor on different platforms, public reaction overwhelmingly negative. But this is my observation. This is not some study, right, conducted by some institution. This is just my observation that based on what I've seen, reaction was overwhelmingly negative on this ceasefire. And Kremlin's explanation was that, well, this will help to further enhance negotiation process. Okay. RIA Novosti is also reporting that aide of Russian President Kirill Dmitriev allegedly plans to meet with the Trump's administration officials in Miami again. So RDIF CEO Kirill Dmitriev, aide of Russian President also, will visit the United States today, by the way, on 31st of January, to meet with the members of the U.S. administration. Reuters reported, Western media outlet. And there is a quote here: Dmitriev will travel to Miami on Saturday for meetings with the members of the U.S. President Donald Trump's administration, publication said, citing sources. I guess he will have a meeting again with Witkoff, with the Kushner potentially, maybe with some other individuals there. And well, let's see what will come out of these talks. I'm 100% confident, by the way, that this is pure waste of time. I'm 100% convinced that attempt from Moscow, from Russian leadership, to build some bridges with Washington and establish some sort of a working relationships with their current administration in the US, attempt itself and ideas behind it are positive, but unrealistic, same time, right? I understand that Kremlin wants best for Russia, right? I understand that, but I think they are just too optimistic or something, too naive. No, they cannot be naive, right? So I guess they are just too optimistic, by the way, because they still are pushing these attempts to build some bridges with Washington, man. And well, I don't know. It's in my personal opinion, this is a waste of time. That's it, man. Unfortunately, yet again, I don't believe anything good will come out of these talks, and it might be actually even damaging, big time, because currently, pain situation is being created when the Russian foreign ministry. It seems like, to me personally at least, that Russian foreign ministry is almost completely out of process of this negotiations between Russian side and the American side, right? Which is, I don't know, man. Foreign ministry cannot be out of business, right? And currently, mainly all the talks are done by Putin and Putin's aides, not by foreign ministry. Strange, isn't it? I'm saying mostly. Of course, foreign ministry is still engaged in some talks, but mainly all talks are done by this person, Kirill Dmitriev, also Ushakov, another aide of Russian president, and by Putin himself. Whenever Witkov is visiting Moscow with Kushner and whomever else. Anyways, let's continue with some more news. And well, yesterday, Russian president had a meeting with representatives of government, military-industrial complex, and so on. And he made a couple of quite interesting statements. And he said that in 2025, by the way, in 2025, Russian Federation made $15 billion on weapons exports, on export of their weapons, which is quite interesting, isn't it? Despite their high-intensity conflict that we are engaged in, Russian defense military-industrial complex is managing to not just supply Russian militaries with their whatever they are requiring, but also to fulfill obligation based on contracts with the foreign partners. And past year alone, some $15 billion were made on that. Quite impressive, let's say, right? Quite impressive. Also, I bookmarked this news for this live stream that Russian Foreign Ministry called the UN Secretary General's statement on Crimea and Donbass outrageous. And it is outrageous, by the way. Day before yesterday, I believe, Gutierrez, for whatever reason, by the way, went to say that people in Greenland have a right for self-determination, but people in Crimea and Donbass don't. And people were kind of shocked. What are you talking about? Just don't say nothing. But if you're going to say something, don't be this ridiculous, right? That some people have rights and other people don't. What you are Secretary General of the UN, act as a one, right? But we all know, by the way, Gutierrez is a freaking Mossad, CIA, MI6 freaking prostitute, and freaking filth, literally filth, right? Scum of humanity, and he will do anything and everything to please his pimps from CIA, Mossad, and MI6. That's all. That's all. But nevertheless, because of his position, Russian Foreign Ministry had to react on these ridiculous statements from him. And let me give you a reaction. UN Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez, his comments about the lack of self-determination for residents of Crimea and the Donbass demonstrate the organization's bias against Russia. This was stated by Deputy Foreign Minister Dmitry Lubyansky. I'll give you a quote here. This statement is completely out of the line and demonstrates the bias of the UN Secretariat and its structures. The statement is outrageous, he said on the sidelines of the United Russia meeting. And yes, statement is correct one, obviously. Statement is a correct one, understandable one, but something has to be done about it, by the way. I mean, all we hear from Moscow is statements after statements after statements after statements, and then statements again, right? About all sorts of topics. And when it comes to actions, right, there is lack of action, follow-up actions. So what we're going to do about corruption in the UN? What we're going to do about this useless organization, which is a joke now, right? Are we going to do anything, or just statements will do? That's what I'm interested in. What we can do, and also question is it even possible to do anything now to reform UN, to transform it into something more relevant and adequate? I don't know, maybe it's just too freaking late now for that. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova also commented on this issue and called Gutierrez's conclusion unqualified. She reiterated that the principle of international law have no hierarchy and that one cannot prevail over another, which is, I mean, just basics, right? It's simple stuff, man. And it is unfortunate that we are in a situation now, world is in a situation now when because the Western ruling class is run by freaking morons and all their institutions that are infiltrated by Western secret services are run by such morons that Moscow forced to communicate, try at least to communicate with that side on as simple level as possible, right? Because I mean, if we try to talk some complex stuff to representatives of the Western world, by the way, and all the organizations that they infiltrated, you will go nowhere, by the way, because their opposite side will not understand what are you talking about. They are just too freaking primitives, man. Stone Age people probably were more intellectuals than current leadership of the Western world. And I don't think I'm exaggerating really that much. That's how it is. And that's why quite often Russian leadership is basically reiterating very simple stuff, simplified as much as possible stuff, time and again, to somehow explain to these freaking morons that are in charge of the Western what is going on, what's up. This is crazy, man. This is just freaking crazy. I don't know, man. I don't know how humanity gonna survive 22nd century. And I'm not quite sure humanity will manage to survive because, yet again, Western world is run by freaking primitives. And unfortunately, these primitives are armed with nuclear weapons. And in terms of military and financial economical capabilities, they still are quite powerful, maybe most powerful party in this world. So you can imagine how dangerous the situation is, man. It's like if you give a monkey freaking grenade, right? That's what the Western world resembles now. It's freaking monkey with a hand grenade. And you don't know when that monkey will pull that shit from the grenade and when everything will explode. That's the state of the Western world right now. And the rest of the world is a hostage. The rest of the world is a hostage of these freaking monkeys. These primitives, by the way, that are running the show in the West. That's how it is. And not surprisingly, many so-called international organizations that are infiltrated by Western secret services and their Israeli allies are experiencing tremendous decline in all possible ways. And UN is no exception, by the way. And UN, this so-called Secretary General, warned of a risk of organization's financial collapse. So UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned of serious financial problems within the organization due to lack of funds, according to a document obtained by RIA Novosti. Either all member states will meet their contribution obligations in full and on time, or they will have to fundamentally revise their financial rules to prevent the looming financial collapse. The letter said, according to Gutierrez, the organization has fallen into a trap and is facing a double whammy of unpaid contributions and their obligations to repay funds it never received. Last year, the debtor reached a record 1.6 billion, double their previous year's total. The reality is that unless revenues improve significantly, we will not be able to fully implement the 2026 budget program approved in December. The document states UN will cut spending on peacekeeping operations, which will require the return of 900 million in July 2027. Furthermore, the organization will be required to return 1.3 billion in unspent funds next year, the Secretary General added there. Okay, by the way, because UN is a freaking joke and the useless organization, I guess very many countries don't want to pay nothing, right? And one of the biggest, one of the leading countries when it comes to debt before UN is United States. Yeah, United States is always behind the payments, right? They hate to pay either UN or they love to control it, but they hate to pay, right? Either for UN or any other international, so-called international organization. And maybe you will be surprised, but one of their most loyal members of this so-called organization that always does everything in time is Russia. Russia always pays in time its share, right? Which makes no sense, actually, right? Which makes no sense. US controls these so-called organizations. Let the US pay for it, man. Why we are paying anything, single penny, either for UN or any other so-called international organizations? They are serving US interests. They are serving interests of the Western ruling class. So let them pay for it. But I guess anyways, well, days of UN is numbered, right? This garbage has to die. And it will, man. I don't think UN can be reformed. Right now, there was a donation through PayPal, by the way, from Bald Eagle, from Natalia and Bald Eagle. Thank you very much for your donation, Natalia and the Boulder Eagle, members of our community. And comment is, thank you, Levan and Anna. Keep up the good work. It's a $20 donation through PayPal. Thank you very much once again, Natalia and Bald Eagle. Thank you. And as I said in the beginning, by the way, after the news segment, I will, of course, react on yesterday's commentary from Alexander G. From Boosty. Or you know what? Let me react right now, actually. Let me react right now. To make sure that I'm not going to forget. When you are working like hour, 2-hour live stream, you might easily forget something, by the way. So let me react right now. So this is the comment, by the way, and exactly on the topic that we just discussed a couple of minutes ago. So thank you very much, Alexander G, for yesterday's donation of $10 through Boosty and for your commentary. And let me read the comment for you, dear friends. I think Kremlin just agreed to an energy ceasefire for a week in exchange for Ukraine unbanning the Russian language. Both apparently happened at the same time. And you know what, Alexander G, I'm hearing from you first time that the regime unbanned the Russian language. I think, I mean, we have to check. I will check definitely on this matter. Neither yesterday, neither today, I have not seen any reports in Russian segment of internet, at least, about some decisions on part of the regime to remove these bans, illegal criminal bans that they have on Russian language, Russian culture, Russian everything, right? So I'm gonna check on that. But when it comes to energy ceasefire itself, obviously Kremlin has its calculus, isn't it? And they are operating based on their calculations. Sometimes decisions of the Kremlin might not be understandable or easily understandable for public, for us, ordinary people, because after all, our knowledge is based on our information from open sources, and they know, and they know much more, right? So we should always keep that in mind too. I always do, by the way, and that's why I'm quite often say that maybe it's just me, right? I don't understand something, which not necessarily means that this or that decision is wrong or not wrong. Maybe I'm not understanding something because I don't really have that much information as needed for best possible analytics, right? So I don't know why Kremlin agreed on this energy ceasefire, but in the end, this day is gonna be we all are humans, isn't it? And on one side, yes, it is a factually accurate statement to say that during this energy ceasefire, Kyiv regime will produce weapons and transform its militaries, right, from one area to another, and all of it will be used against Russia, and who knows how many Russian citizens will die as a result of it. So therefore, very many people will never approve this decision, right? Because of potential risks and consequences. So that's the one side of the things, right? On another side, as I said, we all are humans, and trust me, nobody here in Russia wants ordinary residents of Kyiv-controlled territory to suffer due to some issues that they will face in absence of electricity and subsequent absence of heating and the collapse of logistics and stuff like that. So this pause, this pause might be justified from humanitarian standpoint. So that's another way to look at it also, right? And at the same time, as I said, of course, Kremlin has its own database, its own information, which is much more than we will ever have. And of course, they have some calculations, right? Who knows why they agree on that? So, maybe we will find out someday. Thank you very much, Alexander, for your support and the commentary. Thank you. And my apologies that I missed yesterday this comment. Only after live stream yesterday I spotted this. I was thinking that Anna would send me a screenshot. In the beginning of the live stream, she was here. Then she went out. She had to do something, and that what confused me. So thank you very much, Alexander. I appreciate your support. Thank you. And let's continue with the news now. Let's continue with the news and what I have bookmarked. Let's see what I have bookmarked also, by the way. I will check now Rumble just in case, right? Oh, by the way, I don't know what's going on now. There is only 13 people online on Rumble, and there are a little more than 100 there on YouTube. I mean, shadow ban on steroids, I guess, right? Shadow ban on steroids. But anyways, let's continue, dear friends. We have to work no matter what, isn't it? So let's continue. And our next report is about Iran. Next topic is about Iran, Middle East. And RT is reporting that Trump once again brag about this massive armada that is moving towards Iran, arrived in some cases. A number of warships actually already arrived in the Middle East. And one destroyer, U.S. destroyer, docked in Israel yesterday. That was reports. God knows what other assets are moving around there. And yes, Trump went to brag about disarmada again, threatened Iran again. And we all understand, by the way, we all understand that attack on Iran is imminent. I've said that like long ago, right? And I explained why I think West would try to destabilize the region, provoke regional conflict on ethnic and sectarian lines, and why would they attack Iran also? So there is no need to repeat myself, really. Veterans of our community know what my take is on the matter. And by the way, if you right now, dear friends, there was also a donation through Boosty from Alexander G again. Thank you very much, Alexander. I'm gonna make just a sec, dear friends. Now I will try to send this screenshot to myself. If I manage, I'm like a dinosaur, different. Today's Saturday, isn't it? So let's do this live stream in more casual manner. And as I said, I'm a kind of dinosaur. I'm not really that good with all these gadgets and gadgets, and I think I have to do like that. Okay, I've sent it, and no, I did not. What the hell? Just a sec, dear friends. One day, maybe this project will, will grow so much so that there will be several members of the in these projects that will work together, and at that time I will probably wouldn't struggle with this technical stuff this much, but right now I have no freaking idea what to do, man. Just a sec. Okay. My apologies, dear friends. I asked my young daughter to help me, and she helped me. I will now copy this. And let me highlight right now while And once again, thank you very much, Alexander, for your support. And another donation, $20 donation today. And comment from Alexander is thank you for your work, especially their updates on attacks in Russia. There is really nobody else talking about that. I understand why you call for deterrence. Thank you very much, Alexander, for your support, for your commentary. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. And dear friends, let's continue. And well, I was talking about Iran, isn't it? And well, if anybody had any doubts that soon US gonna attack Iran, well, I guess those people are much less now because of Epstein files. You know, yesterday another batch of Epstein files were published, heavily redacted, but nevertheless. And whoa, it's quite a stuff there. By the way, I learned some. Right, I was monitoring the reports about it, and well, it's going to be very damaging for very many people, and one might even think that entire ruling class of the West, by the way, is that filth, exactly that filthy and they're disgusting. So many names are mentioned, and this is just a little portions of their Epstein files, right? And one of their most, usually one of their most actively adapted ways to divert public attention is war. They are launching wars, right, and shifting attention to that. And because in that Epstein files, Trump is mentioned number of times, right? Other figures from Trump's administration. Well, I guess that will be additional reasoning why we will see this war being launched in the Middle East by the US. And maybe, by the way, maybe these files were published exactly to make sure that no one gonna chicken out from Washington, right? And they're gonna do what they've been told. Maybe that's why these documents were published. Somewhat heavily redacted, but nevertheless, there is still some information there that most likely will be extremely damaging to very many people, including Trump, by the way. I saw some reports, which is yet again, if true, then Trump should be in jail, obviously, right now. There was allegations against Trump made by minor, linked to all that Epstein horror story. And many other people from American elites, and not just American elites, but Western elites, right? And God knows who else was also, in this crime, engaged in this crime. So Trump threatened again Iran, and yesterday, dear friends, day before yesterday, on several occasions, I explained what I personally think will happen. U.S. will be focused, or Western ruling class, let's say this way, and their Zionist allies will be focused on triggering internal unrest and civil war in Iran. And to achieve this, they have to create power vacuum, right? And that means they will try to conduct not just decapitation strike on against political and military leadership, but also they will try most likely large-scale attacks on security services, police, even ordinary policemen will be targeted, right? Police stations, Ministry of Internal Affairs, and that kind of stuff, right? To remove law enforcement agencies from the streets, right? to create a total power vacuum and push basically sides to launch a struggle for power to fulfill this power vacuum. And the hope of the Western ruling class is that, of course, eventually conflict will erupt on ethnic lines between different ethnic groups, and potentially even on a sectarian lines. Although Iran, of course, mostly Shiite country. So that's what I think, and eventually Western ruling class wants to transfer this crisis on entire region, trigger internal conflicts, civil wars whenever possible, and wars between their countries, right? And unfortunately, they have a lot of tools in their disposal. And I'm afraid the world is just too late to do anything now. World is just too freaking late. There is a one way to stop all this stuff, but I don't think either Moscow or Beijing will go for it, right? And if not, then Western ruling class will not be stopped, and they will succeed in provoking regional destabilization in the Middle East, and they will manage to shut down navigation, disrupt significantly navigation in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait for years to come, which is going to be devastating, obviously, for the whole world, and especially dangerous for Russia and China and the global South. But meanwhile, by the way, Moscow is active, right? Moscow is much more active than China is, right? It seems to me, at least. And yesterday, for example, we had a report that Putin received the secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council in the Kremlin. So Vladimir Putin received Ali Larijani, secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council in the Kremlin, according to presidential press secretary Dmitry Peskov. And Larijani is her closest ally, some say, of religious supreme leader of Iran. And you tell me what potentially could be topic of discussions yesterday between Larijani and the Putin. On one side, potential additional assistance of Russia in terms of intelligence, in terms of military equipment, potentially in terms of deployment of, let's say, Russian PMCs, for example, maybe it was also discussed. And on top of that, I think one of the topics of discussion yesterday between Putin and Larijani was also possibility that either supreme leader of Iran or also some other high-ranking officials there will flee for Russia if necessary. So maybe Larijani was discussing these topics too, to arrange, to prepare the ground for a potential such a development. And who knows, by the way, maybe families of those high-ranking officials, many high-ranking officials in Iran, maybe their families already been evacuated to Russia. Could be the case, man. Could be the case, because assault on Iran seems to be absolutely inevitable. And as I said yesterday, only way Western ruling class can be stopped, Western ruling class and their Zionist allies can be stopped, is if Russia, either alone or with China, deploys military assets, naval assets in the region, and issues strictest possible ways warning to the Western world and Israel that attack on Iran will mean attack on Russia, and Russia will retaliate with the nuclear weapons. This is the only way we can stop Western ruling class, by the way, from provoking, from engulfing entire Middle East, not just Iran, but entire Middle East into fire. Unfortunately, I don't think either Russia either Russian leadership or Chinese leadership will do this. Unfortunately. But this is the only way we can stop Western ruling class, by the way. We have to send the Navy and basically, even without sending the Navy, right? All Moscow has to do is to make it clear publicly, by the way, publicly. All Putin has to do is make a televised statement. Maybe journalists will be invited, right? And all he has to do is to say, attack on Iran is attack on Russia. And we will retaliate against any country that will attack Iran with the nuclear weapons. This is very important, with the nuclear weapons, right? And if this would not stop Western ruling class, then nothing will. But I think such a statement will definitely have a massive impact, because I mean, can you imagine what will happen in the West, in the US, by the way, in Europe, when they will realize that well, man, we just went too far, and if we will attack Iran, then Russia will just freaking obliterate us all. This might have a tremendous impact, by the way, on the Western world and Western ruling class too, and Western societies also. Maybe people will finally realize that these criminal actions of their political leadership is pushing this war towards their extinction level event. Maybe at that point, Western societies will actually wake up, maybe. But the question is, will Russian president alone or together with the Xi Jinping and potentially Modi, Indian prime minister, will they make such a statement? Will they make such a step? I don't think so. I don't think so. So that means the Middle East is doomed, man. Because there is no other way to stop Western ruling class. RIA Novosti is also reporting that meanwhile, US intelligence agencies have found no evidences that Iran is producing nuclear weapons. What a surprise! What a surprise! Western intelligence agencies have found no evidence that Iran is producing nuclear weapons. New York Times, by the way, Western propaganda outlet, right? New York Times reports citing sources familiar with the US intelligence. And of course, none of us, nobody in our community is surprised to hear this, right? We all know that Iran was enriching uranium up to 60% to have a latent nuclear deterrent. If they wanted to build nuclear weapons, they would already have it, right? But they did not want nuclear weapons. They were hoping that latent nuclear deterrent will work. It did not, though. It did not, right? But nevertheless, they were never working on nuclear warheads, by the way. They were not doing no freaking nuclear weapons. And why they been attacked? Why they been attacked, by the way? This is New York Times reporting based on US intelligence. And why US attacked Iran recently, when they know perfectly well that Iran was not even trying to build nuclear weapons. Freaking liars, man, isn't it? Freaking liars. And well, as I said, by the way, there is only one way how we can deter Western ruling class from destabilizing entire Middle East, not just Iran, but all of it, right? And that way is to issue strict warning that attack on Iran is attack on Russia, China, India. Otherwise, well, Western ruling class will go ahead and destabilize the whole region, and they have allies there. They actually have allies in the region, not just Israel. Israel is a part of it, right? Israel is a part of this globalist evil force. But there is Saudi Arabia too. Yesterday I said that I don't believe Riyadh will stand its earlier statements that they're gonna stay neutral and they're not gonna allow their territory, air force, waters to be used for strikes on Iran. Riyadh cannot be trusted, by the way, obviously. And yesterday I reported that Israeli and Saudi delegations were in US to discuss attacks on Iran. And today Axios is reporting that allegedly Saudi Defense Minister Prince Khalid bin Salman stated at the closed-door briefing in Washington on Friday, yesterday, that if Trump does not carry out his threats against Iran, the regime in Tehran will be strengthened. This was reported by 4 sources who attended the meeting. So you tell me now what's going on, by the way. I mean, Saudi Foreign Ministry stated that Riyadh will maintain neutrality, and Saudi Defense Minister in Washington is telling Americans that, well, encouraging basically Americans to, go ahead and attack Iran. So which should we believe, man? Foreign Ministry or Defense Ministry? Or maybe Axios is lying. Also possibility, of course, but Riyadh cannot be trusted, man. Riyadh cannot be trusted, right? And we should keep in mind that very many elements in Saudi Arabia considering Iran to be their archenemy, right? And they are using confrontation with Iran or escalatory rhetoric towards Iran as a tool to strengthen their position or position of Saudi Arabia as a leader in a Sunni world, right? In which there is a competition. Turkey wants to be a leader, for example. Saudi is maintaining this leading position just because Mecca is there, right? This holy place for Muslim people. But Turkey wants to be leading force in the Sunni world, right? And to somehow deter Turkey, somehow neutralize Turkish influence, well, Saudis are using anything and everything, including topic of Iran. So, yes, Israel obviously wants whole region to be destroyed. That was their goal, like always, since the creation of Israel, basically, right? Globalists and neocons want regional war to shut down navigation into the Persian Gulf, and they have such an influence, by the way. They have such an influence on these Gulf monarchies in Saudi Arabia, for example, and in other monarchies too, that well, they can force actually these royal families, so-called royal families, by the way, to sacrifice their own country, their own people for geopolitical agenda of the West, because you can understand if West shut down navigation in the Persian Gulf, that will devastate whole region, Saudi Arabia included. But if Saudi leadership has $1 trillion in assets in the West, well, I don't think they would care that much, really. What's going to happen to Saudi Arabia? They would not care, man. That's how it is. And they don't care, clearly, because, well, Defense Minister of Saudi Arabia is encouraging US to attack Iran. And that's quite telling. That's quite telling, man. Meanwhile, US administration approves new arms sales to Israel worth $6.67 billion. And of course, yet again, nobody is surprised. Nobody is surprised. How else, man? Of course, US will do whatever Israel wants, whatever Zionists want, right? And it's going to stay this way, I guess, until American people will rebel, actually, right? And destroy, completely erase from existence current corrupt, tremendously corrupt political system, and until Americans will completely neutralize these corrupt so-called elites that they have. And well, when it comes to disgusting political system and the political elites of the US, by the way, as I said, another bunch of Epstein files were published. And for example, just a little snippet of it. In 2012, by the way, one of the emails that were published yesterday openly discusses Jeffrey Epstein going to Mar-a-Lago after Christmas, almost a decade after Trump allegedly threw out Epstein. And Trump said many times, isn't it, that he threw out Epstein in 2003, and since then they had no relationships, nothing, and this Epstein was never in Mar-a-Lago. But later, one of the letters says that Epstein was discussing going to Mar-a-Lago after Christmas, and probably he went there, right? Also on DD Geopolitics, by the way, DD Geopolitics, if you are interested, I recommend to go to DD Geopolitics channel, Telegram channel. They published numerous screenshots, right, of these files. And yesterday I saw a report on DD Geopolitics that in one of the files there is a talk about Trump being accused by minor of crime. And I guess many media outlets probably will go through, that have resources, by the way, will go through these thousands of documents, right? And because DOJ and FBI is packed with the freaking primitives, even if they try to hide certain information, probably they made some mistake, right? And some information actually will be published, right? Must be. And yesterday there was also a report that certain files that was mentioning Trump was deleted very quickly after the publication, and those files can no longer be downloaded from our DOJ site. So they want to, they are publishing, they are heavily redacting the files, right? And publishing portion by portion while trying to secure Trump and whomever they have orders to secure. But they are failing. They are failing, and in many documents, there is some indicators of crime committed by Trump and there are many others, right? Including from his administration. And one of the letters, by the way, also, I saw it on DD Geopolitics, there is a conversation between Epstein and the former Israeli Prime Minister Barak. And Epstein is commenting, writing, you should, to Barak, you should make clear that I don't work for Mossad. And former Israeli Prime Minister is asking, you or I? Epstein then answering that I don't. So probably Epstein's links to Mossad was discussed somewhere, that and Epstein wanted to kill this topic, right? And he demanded or asked former Prime Minister to say something about it and to make it clear that Epstein is not Mossad's asset, which clearly indicates that he was Mossad's asset. And Barak also. Ehud Barak, that is, right? Who was? So something interesting, isn't it? Something interesting. And as I said, thousands and thousands of documents were published, and today probably there will be more and more revelations on that. Western elites, by the way, are total scam. And as I said, man, powerful groups, powerful clans that are pulling the strings, only allowing in a position of power, in high-ranking position or position of elite, individuals on which they have dirt so that they can control them. No decent human being ever gonna be allowed to reach a position of elite, political elite or financial elite or any elite, by the way, in the Western world. Not happening, by the way, right? That's how disgusting their system is there. And people have to wake up to this truth, man. Every public figure they see is a dirty scumbag. Every public figure they see, by the way, in the West is a criminal and only allowed in a public field because some influential groups have a dirt on them, right? And will use them as a tool whenever they want to push certain narratives, to debunk certain narratives, to push some false information about this and that, to use them in any way they want, right? Western elites are completely dirty and compromised. That's it, man. I don't think anyone can have any doubts about it. Elon Musk is also mentioned. I said that there is many names being mentioned, including Elon Musk, who was also being accused, by the way, of committing crime. Accuser was minor in that case too. And there are many other names, some pictures being published. British Prince Andrew again, but now everyone knows that that creature is a total disgusting creature, right? I mean, filth, absolute filth, right? As British royal family is, generally speaking, filth. And British aristocracy, by the way, filth, right? That's what they are, man, filth, dirt. Same can be said about the European aristocracy and Western elites in general, man. Everybody you see in a position of elites are dirty scumbags, and their influential forces, groups of special interests, have dirt on them, right? To use whenever they want and in which way they want. That's how it is. And US, if you think US gonna stop on Iran when it comes to destructive, or the Middle East when it comes to its destructive actions, of course not. It's only a matter of time before US will attack Cuba. Yesterday, day before yesterday, Trump announced additional measures to strengthen the embargo against Cuba. Energy embargo is in place now from American side. Cuba, on its part, has declared a state of international emergency in response to US actions. Head of Cuba, Rodriguez, called US policy anti-Cuban and neo-fascist, stating that it poses a threat to national security and the foreign policy of all countries, which is true, as well as their survival of humanity in the face of the nuclear threat and their climate change. So I would not link climate change to US, by the way, but rest, 100%. Rest is definitely 100%. US is a corporative fascist state, isn't it? It's corporative fascist state, corporate fascist state, and that's it, man. And there isn't not really much to discuss about it. It's just factually accurate statement. And US, Western ruling class, let's say, right, that are using US as their tool, as their weapon. Western ruling class is clearly evil force and threat, existential threat for whole of humanity. It is what it is. I'm saying this, by the way, for, I don't know, man, since forever, right? And I find it difficult to understand why on earth countries outside of at least outside of the Western world, man, and political leadership of these countries outside of the Western world are not making these kind of statements also. That Western ruling class, Western elites, is an evil force and existential threat for all of humanity and needs to be neutralized. Why Russian president is not saying this? It's true, isn't it? It's true, for God's sake, man. Why Chinese leader is not saying this? Why Indian leader is not saying this? Brazil's leader, South African leader. Why they are freaking quiet, man? Just say it, man. It's true, isn't it? And it will be liberating, right? Once you say the truth, it will liberate you, man. Then it will become clear for whole of world, all of humanity, that we are in a struggle against evil force that Western elites are. And we will have a better chances to get united, right? To defeat this evil force. But I mean, no one from elites want to say it as it is, man. No one wants to confront this evil force this directly, which is unfortunate. But you know, meanwhile, Maria Zakharova commented on her official spokesperson of the Russian Foreign Ministry, commented on U.S. illegal actions against Cuba and stated Russia condemns their illegitimate U.S. sanctions against Cuba. This is a new attempt to economically strangle the island. According to Zakharova, Moscow's cooperation with Havana is not directed against third countries, and Russia will continue to develop it. And okay, by the way, okay, good. Let's see if Russia will send their humanitarian aid in Cuba. Let's see if today, tomorrow, if these statements means anything, actually. Let's see if Moscow will authorize to send their, or if Kremlin will authorize to send their couple of tankers with oil as a humanitarian aid for Cuba. And let's see if Moscow will authorize to assist Cuba in some other ways too. Because US is starving Cubans, millions of Cubans, by the way. US is torturing millions of Cubans, right? And it's a shame on humanity, by the way, that we are allowing, we as humans, allowing this crime to happen for decades and decades and decades, right? And well, it is shame, and so many things are that happening in this world is a shame of humanity that I don't know, man. That's why I think maybe humanity don't really deserves to survive in current form, because we are not good creatures, by the way. We are not good people, man. We are evil too, you know. Humanity, I'm talking about, most of it. Because we love to talk a lot, act as if we are better human beings or good human beings, but when it comes to business, when it comes to actions, vast majority always chickens freaking out. And I have seen this with my own eyes, man, so many times, right? So fuck humanity, man, really. Maybe Third World War is actually needed so that survivors will build a better civilization, because today humanity is a freaking garbage, most of it, right? I believe there is some excellent human beings, right? Unfortunately, I'm not one of them, but I truly believe that there must be among these 8 billion or how many of us, there are gonna be very many people that are absolutely decent human beings, man, and we don't deserve to live next to them, right? Because we are not that good, or we are not even good, man. But majority of us is bad people, man. And yet again, by the way, I'm critical of myself too. I'm not saying that I'm any better than anyone else, but I'm just real, man. We are garbage, isn't it? We are, man. For many reasons. but we don't deserve to exist, man. I think, honestly, man. And maybe Third World War is actually needed, by the way, so that their survivals, and some will survive, I guess. They will build their better civilization on the knowledge of how not to operate, right? They will know that humanity get corrupted so much so at some point that world was fucked up in numerous ways, man. And hopefully those survivors will build something better. Because it's a shame, man. I feel ashamed because people are starving in this freaking world, right? Millions of people starving, and and we are just freaking, either we are completely ignorant or maybe talking about it, but we are not capable of. Okay, one person might not be able to do something, but why we are not linking up? Why we are not trying to, actually come up with some solutions? We, I mean, humans. Because all we can is talk, man. That's it. All we can is talk. Unfortunately, that's how it is, man. That's how it is. Yeah. Also, just to let you know how primitive American ruling class is, man. House Foreign Affairs Committee posted this message on their official page on one of the social media. Maybe this is Twitter or through social or something. And they are writing, to all world leaders meeting with their Xi Jinping, Chinese leader, China sells nothing but cheap products and cheap friendships. And this is a statement of House Foreign Affairs Committee. So who are these people, man? Do they have even two brain cells or something? Who are these freaking primitives, man? Why are they in a House Foreign Affairs Committee? They cannot even talk normally, man. Right? That's the level, man. That's what am I talking about. That's their freaking level. Total degenerates, man. Total degenerates, right? I don't give a damn about Xi Jinping, man. But what I want to highlight is language itself, right? How primitive, how freaking primitive they are, man. These so-called elites in the US, and if you think Europe is any better, no, man. Take a look at the European elites. They all are scum of humanity and evil force. Meanwhile, there is a government shutdown, partial government shutdown in the US. Over their homeland security fundings, Democrats are refusing to vote for funding of the DHS, and do it through actions of their ICE. After all, already U.S. citizens even been executed, by the way, by ICE officers, not just foreigners, but U.S. citizens. And today there is massive demonstrations. Massive demonstrations last several hours all over the U.S. There is a massive demonstrations in big cities, small cities. There are millions of people are marching all over the states against ICE, against Trump's administration. And I would not say that this is just the Democrats. I think very many neutrals or the Republicans also are joining these demonstrations because U.S. before very day eyes is transforming not just into empire officially, but in a fascist empire, by the way, right? When regime is killing people left and right, with total impunity. And for many Americans, no matter Democrat or Republican, this is shocking, right? They never think that U.S. will degenerate this far, this much, but it did, right? So millions and millions of people are now marching. I'm not sure they're gonna achieve anything, right? I'm not sure about it, but all they have to do is like wait for November, right? If ruling class in US will not postpone midterm elections for whatever reason, and they might, I think that they have plans to postpone midterm elections. But if they don't, then of course configuration of House and Senate most likely will change. And Trump and forces that are behind him will become a lame duck. So they're not going to be able to act this crazy. Maybe not, but maybe, right? So Americans have to wait until November. That is, isn't it, when midterm elections will take place? It's quite a lot of time until then, man. Trump might start Third World War several times over in this in next 10 months. So let's see. But yes, there is a massive demonstrations in the US. People are not happy. And of course, different groups of special interests are using these internal tensions for their own mercantile interests, which is nothing new. It always happens. And so it is what it is. RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian oil supplies to Georgia increased 16-fold in 2025, which is quite impressive, isn't it? 16 times, by the way. Overall volume is still small, very small actually. Only 225,000 tons, right? But this could be a beginning, man. This could be a beginning because as Russia is facing more and more hostility on open sea, right? As we see, as a partial maritime embargo is being imposed on Russia, obviously these land routes for export of the energy will be, will be developed very rapidly, right? And process is clearly underway. On example of Georgia, we can clearly see that, isn't it? That well, some businesses in Georgia probably find some partners here in Russia and say, you know what? I mean, let's do, man. Let's make some refineries here. Let's bring Russian oil, refine, and then sell their freaking oil products. Let's make as much money as possible, right? It's a good business, by the way. And yeah, if in 2025 exports rose 16 times, this year number might be even higher, right? Towards the end of this year, exports could be in millions of tons. Theoretically speaking, I mean, it takes time before you build a refinery, obviously, right? And some refineries probably are in the process of construction, but until those refineries will be launched, well, Georgia can make quite a good buck resale while doing some resale of Russian oil, isn't it? They can buy Russian oil, let's say under their like $40 or something, and sell it for $50. $10 a barrel, it's a good buck, man. Even $5 a barrel, good buck when you are basically doing nothing, just reselling the stuff, right? So yes, every time Western world will come up with some additional hostile steps against Russia, we will find the ways to deal with the situation anyways, right? We will. We always do. And the example, you can see example here, right? And it's not just Georgia, by the way. Many other countries are increasing cooperation with Russia, not decreasing. And by the way, well, it's obviously not just Venezuela and Cuba that US wants to reconquer, but also Panama. US President Trump was very clear on that. And Panama's so-called Supreme Court has ruled that Chinese-operated port contracts on the Panama Channel are unconstitutional now. decision targets terminals run by Hong Kong-based CK Hutchinson at both ends of the channel. The ruling follows U.S. pressure to curb Chinese influence over the waterway, carrying 5% of the global trade. So yes, U.S. is pushing out China from Latin America with accelerated speed, and as I said, from the first day of this trade-off in regards to Venezuela, in which China probably plays some part. If Beijing actually believe that US will honor any agreement with them, I have Himalaya mountains, by the way, to sell them. And of course, US will not honor nothing, man. US leadership, let's say, right? Of course, they will honor nothing. They never do. And yeah, Chinese gonna find out hard way now. They're gonna be kicked out of. They're already being kicked out of Panama, right? And there are other countries gonna follow, man. Other countries gonna follow. And that's it. That's it for a news segment. That's it for a news segment. Let me check Rumble, by the way. No super chat or rant on Rumble. Let me check also here. So I already highlighted their donation and their commentary from Alexander G through Boosty platform, and and also a donation that was through PayPal from Natalia or Bold Eagle. And thank you all dear friends for your support and attention. And well, should we? I don't know, man. Should I end the live stream now, or should we discuss something? Tell me in the comment sections. I can see Vladimir Sigida is commenting. Let's continue, Leon. Okay, dear friends. I mean, just drop some comments, questions, topics that you want to discuss, if you have a time. It's a Saturday. As I said in the beginning, it's minus 20 outside, by the way, so I'm not going nowhere, right? So if you want to discuss any topic, by the way, let's do it. Smoke Sal is commenting. Thank you, Levan. We are here because you care and we care. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kind words, Sally, and their attention and support. Thank you. Also, Bold Eagle is commenting. Very cold in the North USA. True. I know. It's a lot of snow there, isn't it? I saw some videos even of some building collapsing. Maybe because of the snow, maybe there were some constructional issues with the building. But yes, I know in the northern part of America, U.S. is also a lot of snow. Kuramar sir is commenting. I want to ask about the difference between Russian and Chinese hypersonics, sir, but I don't know if it's your area of expertise. I'm no military expert, by the way. I mean, I never pretend to be, and my knowledge is basically based on open sources. It's a general knowledge, really. Russia is significantly advanced country in terms of rocket technology, right? Missile technology. And when it comes to hypersonics, China actually was the first country, believe it or not. But I think China was the first country which adopted, not just tested, but also adopted in regular forces, hypersonic gliders. Russia was second, although Russia was simultaneously working on numerous hypersonic weapons. Russia was working on numerous hypersonic weapon systems, right? And now, without a hurry, and now Russia has quite a number and quite impressive, by the way, hypersonic weaponry, Oreshnik being one of them, right? Russia has a gliders also. Glider is the difference, isn't it, by the way, with the regular, let's say, re-entry vehicle and the glider. Glider is the kind of not necessarily plane, but it's kind of like has a wings. It flies, glides, right? While a re-entry vehicle, traditional, it's like taking bullet, big one, right? It goes to space, it comes down on a specific point that it has to target, right? Yeah, Russia is leading in this field. Oreshnik is definitely something that already been tested a couple of times. At least we have seen how impressive the weapon is, even without explosive materials being used in the warheads. By the way, I mean, according to speculations on the internet, as a result of these Oreshnik strikes with the dummy freaking warheads, facilities that were targeted were obliterated. They suffered tremendous damage due to massive kinetic energy that these warheads were carrying, right, after re-entry. So, I mean, that's how it is. China is mainly operating with the gliders. I don't even know if China has a hypersonic missiles themselves, sir. I don't know. Probably they do have something, but when it comes to already confirmed stuff, it's gliders. China has some gliders, right? But we have everything: gliders, warheads, missiles, everything. By the way, we have a hypersonic air-to-air missiles, even, right? That can be launched from Russian fighter jets, and they were used. I believe they were used, by the way. And longest air-to-air kill, by the way, belongs to Russian plane, according to yet again speculations on the internet, and the Russian hypersonic missile was used for that kill, right? It's either R-77M or R-37M, something like that. But nevertheless, I'm not an expert, obviously, in military stuff. So if you want to know details, I recommend, I don't know if you are familiar with goodness me, man. Guys, I forget how. I'm gonna. Hey, this is crazy. Sometimes you might forget something that you yourself are surprised. I mean, really? So Andrei Martyanov, by the way, yes, Andrei Martyanov's channel. He is a American military expert of Russian origin, right? And he's a military expert, and he can definitely. I'm quite sure he already has spoken about hypersonic weapons and everything. And I definitely recommend to check his channels, his programs. Um, he is an expert. I'm not, by the way. I just love to learn stuff, right? Love to read about everything as much as I can. So, and also question from paranoization. Question from paranoization. India, after receiving Russian S-500, made a general defense treatment with the EU. What do you think? India does not have the S-500. I think you have to check your sources. Russia did not sell S-500 to nobody. So India cannot have S-500. India has S-400. And yes, recently New Delhi signed a trader deal with the EU, and I mean, good for them. I mean, if they will, if India will benefit from that, good for India. I mean, Russia and India are partners, right? Strategical partners. So therefore, anything that strengthens India is good for Russia, and anything that strengthens Russia is good for India. We might not say every day, all the time, like 24/7. That's how it is, but actually, that's how it is. So if India will benefit from this trade deal, which will be in force in about 6 months' time, when legislators on both sides will adopt it, right, will vote for it. If India will benefit from that, great. But you know, nothing bad I can say about it. I mean, good for India if they will benefit for it. I have some doubts that they will, but you know, so they have S-400 and they want to buy more S-400 air defense systems. The Indian side claimed on several occasions that they were happy with this system. During their Operation Sindoor, that was launched by India against Pakistan, S-400s protected quite important areas successfully. And there were reports on different sources that India was planning to buy more S-400 air defense systems. At some point, there was even speculations that maybe Russia itself will offer India S-500. That was a speculation, by the way. If and this S-500 offer might maybe was considered as a part of a bigger offer or bigger contract on Su-57s, right? But unfortunately, deal did not happen. India did not purchase no Russian Su-57 fighter jets, and I guess topic of S-500 is also not relevant. But S-400s, yes, India operates with these systems, and I believe they want to buy some more. Oh, by the way, that's exactly what Vladimir Sigida is saying, that China has only hypersonic gliders, not rockets. That was my understanding also. Whenever I see Chinese hypersonic system, is a glider. While Russia has everything, gliders, missiles, rockets, you name it, right? So maybe China adopted first these hypersonic gliders, but Russia was working simultaneously on a number of projects and continues to do so, and Russia is far ahead of all the others when it comes to hypersonic weapon systems. Shalom too is commenting. How long do you think the war with Iran will last? Well, this is a important topic, of course, important question. I don't think one should expect like confrontation with Iran in a way, U.S.-Iran confrontation in the same way as it was during U.S.-Iraq confrontation. I don't think they're going to be ground forces of U.S. In large numbers, at least some special forces maybe, but not ground forces in general terms. I think U.S. wants Western ruling class, let's say, right? Because when I say U.S., some Americans may get upset because they don't want no war with nobody, right? And they affiliate themselves with their country, obviously, right? So therefore, that's why I'm this regularly using their elites, and then these words, right? American ruling class, European ruling class, to distinguish them from their peoples of this country, right? That's the reason why I'm framing my sentences or building my sentences in a certain way, right? And so what Western ruling class wants, in my personal opinion, is to shut down navigation into a Persian Gulf, right? They want to shut down navigation into a Persian Gulf through Russ-Ukr to cut off China, rest of the world, and first of all China, from Middle Eastern energy sources, which is a major energy source for China right now. And by doing so, Western ruling class wants to increase Chinese dependence on Russia, on Russian energy supplies, right? Towards the critical level. And once they will, if they manage to do so, if Western ruling class manages that, right? At some point, then I think they are planning to create tensions between Moscow and Beijing. And hardly anyone doubts that U.S. most definitely has a U.S. Western ruling class, by the way, most definitely has assets in Russia, assets in China. We can call it a fifth columns, right? Probably quite powerful fifth columns. And I guess Western ruling class plans to use these fifth columns at that point when Chinese dependence on Russian energy will be absolutely critical, to create tensions between the two, to create an illusion or situation when Beijing would think that Russia is about to turn its back on China, which will mean the Chinese economy is about to freaking die, right? Because if Russia is going to be last major source of energy, and if Beijing will afraid that, well, Russia going to turn its back on us now and potentially cut energy supplies, that will mean death of Chinese economy. That will mean death of China itself, right? So, Western world would try to create this fear in Beijing, and then to force Beijing to go for a military action, go for to basically go for hostilities, right? Go for an attempt to secure closest energy fields by force. And closest energy fields, vast energy fields, oil fields, gas fields to China is in Central Asia and Russia. That's how it is, right? So Western ruling class wants to provoke basically war between China and Russia. Of course, this war will touch India and Pakistan too. It's going to go nuclear quickly. And that's what Western ruling class wants, to demolish basically global South, to destroy all potential competitors and to maintain dominance over this world, whatever is going to be left of it, forever, right? And that's why, as I said, part of this plan, as I see it, is to shut down navigation, right? Important part of this plan is to shut down navigation into Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait. And the only way Western ruling class can do it in the long term, is to provoke regional war. And not just any war between any two countries, but regional war on ethnic and sectarian lines, because these kind of hostilities, by the way, are most bloody and most difficult to stop when there is a war on ethnic and sectarian lines. And therefore, what what Western ruling class will do now, while attacking Iran, is to create a vacuum, right? Power vacuum. There, U.S. And U.S. is a tool in hands of Western ruling class. Obviously, they will try to conduct decapitation strike, political and military leadership. They will try to remove from the streets security services, police included. And how they're going to do it? They're going to bomb police stations. They're going to go after police, by the way. They're going to bomb them. They're going to order their assets to launch attacks on the police, on the people on uniform, right? And why they're going to do it? Because they want ethnic war to happen in Iran. First of all, between Azerbaijanis and the Persians, because these are two major groups in Iran, right? And it's not going to be easy, by the way, because both nations, both ethnicities, Persians and Azerbaijanis, are nation builders in Iran. Nation builders, right? And to provoke a confrontation between them, not going to be that easy for American side, for Western ruling class, right? But I guess they're going to go for it anyways. Of course, Beluji armed groups will join this escalation. Kurdish groups will join this escalation. And if U.S. succeeds, by the way, civil war in Iran might last for years and years and years, and will spell on other regional countries too. It will touch regional countries too, by the way, because we should keep in mind, in Iraq, majority is Shiite, right? Minority is Sunni. In Sunni minority, by the way, also there is no unity. Kurdish people in Kirkuk area, by the way, they have autonomy basically. They don't really care what Baghdad has to say, right? They have their own military formations, and they are not really on good terms with their Sunni Arabs. So you see, there is also a huge potential of massive civil war being provoked in Iraq too, on ethnic and sectarian lines. Then you see, I already reported in this update, isn't it, that yesterday, allegedly, according to Western media, yesterday Saudi defense minister told American counterparts that if US would not attack Iran, that would encourage Tehran, right? That will strengthen Tehran. And if true, by the way, it was Axios, isn't it, that reported about it? So if Axios is not lying, then this information means that there is a great deal of risk that Western ruling class will manage also to provoke military hostilities between Saudi Arabia and Iran, right? And well, you guess what's gonna happen. Saudi Arabia not gonna be alone, obviously, right? And how Iran gonna respond on that? That will shut down navigation, man. That will mean a regional war on ethnic and sectarian lines, plus wars between the countries. That will shut down navigation into the Persian Gulf for many, many years to come. They're gonna drop so many freaking mines, by the way, there, and it's gonna be you know. So that's what is going on. So US strikes on Iran, or Western Israeli strikes on Iran, whichever country will participate, will last probably couple of weeks, right? And I guess that's about it, because US don't really has enough forces in the region to sustain any longer high intensity strikes on Iran, right? But they have enough to sustain regular strikes on Iran for a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, by the way. and in this time frame, in this period, they will try to provoke this civil war on the ground between different ethnic groups, right? That's how I see the situation. V4 Wovin is commenting, USSR had their hypersonic missile program in 1980s, along with their many laser weapon platforms. Possibly, yes, sir. There were some works on the matter, but USSR never adopted hypersonic weapons, as far as I'm concerned. Russia did. And when it comes to laser weapons, well, it's still far away. It's still far away, by the way, from this energy weapons to become some decisive tool. Let's say this way. We need some new physics, right? We need some new ways of generating energy to make this, and also we need tremendous progress in miniaturization, right? To make lasers actually as powerful as we have seen in science fiction movies, right? Right now, even most powerful lasers, by the way, need at least a couple of seconds to be focused on a drone, let's say, right? At least a couple of seconds to be focused on the drone to deal some damage, enough to divert drone from its path, or to maybe even bring down. Couple of seconds, really? It's too long, too much. So modern lasers, not as effective, obviously, not as powerful, but give it give it like 20, 30, 50 years, maybe we will have a breakthrough in a new physics, and yeah, then lasers gonna become something much more serious and decisive. Nidish Kumar is commenting, Levan, the long-range 400-kilometer missile is 4.5 Mach. It's to take her out AWACS platforms, mainly. Which missile you are talking about, Nidish? Oh, let's see. And I guess that was a continuation of this comment from the dish that Levan, we are developing 12 types of hypersonic weapons. And India is also, by the way, armed with the hypersonic weapons. I believe BrahMos is a hypersonic missile, right? BrahMos is an Indian-Russian cruise missile that already proved itself to be very, very serious stuff, right? And well, man, that's quite something. If India is developing beyond visual range missiles, hypersonic missiles to strike, let's say, AWACS platforms from 400 kilometers, that's quite something, isn't it? I don't think right now, currently, there is any air force in the world that has missiles with such a range. 400 kilometers, that's freaking lot, right? So good luck to India, though. Good luck to India in these developments. It's going to be impressive. I know that longest kill, according to different reports on internet that I have seen, longest kill is happened in zone of special military operation, either Russian Su-57 or Su-35. One of the Russian planes used this hypersonic beyond visual range missile to track down and intercept to intercept basically hostile planes some 200 plus kilometers away. And there were several instances of that, actually. Just a couple of days ago, a video started circulating on internet of Ukrainian Su-25 attack plane, which was intercepted allegedly by Russian R-37M, right? If I remember correctly, is R-37 or R-77? Anyways, by Russian missile, long-range missile, by the way, also beyond visual range. And allegedly that missile was launched some also 200 kilometers away by Russian plane. So Russia is operating with missiles that has a range of 200, 250 kilometers, something like that, I guess, right? Exact numbers probably are classified. So 400-kilometer range is, of course, tremendous. Of course, it's... David King is commenting, any more news on Russia's mini reactor? Can it be used for industry or heating for cities? Thank you for a question, David. You are talking about, of course, this miniaturized Russian nuclear reactor that was used, or that is used actually in Poseidon, right? In Poseidon autonomous underwater vehicle. And there was no additional information on that. At least I did not see anything. But what I do remember is that Russian president, while commenting on the matter, stated that this breakthrough into miniaturization of the nuclear reactors allows this technology to be deployed for civilian purposes. So Russian president actually said that, well, we can adapt this technology for civilian purposes to power some massive plants, for example, or maybe even city blocks, especially on rural areas, right, in northern latitudes of the Russia, for example. And probably it will happen, right? Probably it will happen, but because Russia has a lot of nuclear power stations, Russia also has a floating power stations, right? It has to be some specific need in this type of nuclear reactor to it to be mass produced. And the areas where these miniaturized nuclear reactors can be useful is infrastructure along northern maritime route. I think that's the direction where probably we will see civilian deployment of these nuclear reactors for civilian purposes, alongside of a northern coastline of the Russia, where infrastructure is built now to provide assistance to basically guarantee their stable work of northern maritime route. So, and of course, it makes all the sense, by the way, if you bring a nuclear reactor there, right, to power whatever infrastructure you have in place, instead of pulling the cables from some 1,000 kilometers away, where closest settlement is, right? Russia is vast, isn't it? Russia is just too huge, and there is many areas, by the way, that are so isolated from urbanized part of Russia that it makes more sense to actually build mini nuclear plants there than to bring electricity through cables from other cities. So I'm quite sure work is done in this direction, but because civilian side of the things is a commercial stuff, until there is a need, commercial demand on these reactors, it would not go into mass production, but I think potential is there. Potential is definitely there. Anidish Kumar is commenting, Levan, our pilots did not even test fly Su-57 till now. They are asking one two-seater variant to test it. I mean, I don't know, man. What the hell is going on? It is in interest of both sides, right? To reach agreement. Um, I don't think there is such a know-how in Su-57 that maybe Russian side is a bit on brakes because maybe they are afraid that they're going to be some leak of technology from India to Western side, Western countries. But I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. We have to share technology, man, right? To India, we have to do it, and we need India to be a major military power, not just a strong power, but major military power. By the way, in this world, we absolutely need this for world security. And I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on. Uh, why sides didn't manage to reach some agreement, man? I don't even know if two-seaters are being built, man. Honestly, I'm not even sure two-seater Su-57s were built. Maybe they are in, maybe there will be built one someday, but I'm not quite sure about it. So you see, maybe Russia cannot provide two-seater because we just don't have it. And then we have to build one first, provide it to Indian side, so India will, uh, do some test flights, and then decision will be made. I don't know what's going on in this, but I'm quite sure it will be beneficial, man. It will be beneficial for both sides to achieve some agreement on Su-57s. Because you have enough Su-30s, isn't it? You don't really build no more. India was building difference. I mean, who don't know from community? India was building hundreds of Su-30s under the Russian license. So Indian aerospace industry is well developed, and they can build their top-notch fighter jets, right? So they can definitely build Su-57s too, and there was even talks about it, about transfer of the production. But something is not adding up. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on, really. Hopefully, sides will manage to reach some agreement. But when it comes to two-seater, I don't know if I have ever seen report about two-seater Su-57. There might be none, Pilots being trained on, I believe pilots for Su-57 are trained on Yak 130s, Yak 130 training planes. Maybe some Su-30s being also adapted for training purposes, two-seaters. Su-30s are two-seaters, by the way, multi-role fighter jets. Su-35 is a one-seater, and Su-57 is also a one-seater, and Yak 130 that I mentioned is a training plane, military and training plane. It's a battle-capable too, and it's a two-seater, obviously, as all train planes are. So I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on, really. But hopefully sides will reach some agreement someday. Oh, did it? Zabinator is commenting, why did silver crash so hard today? I don't know, man. Did silver crashed? I mean, silver gained quite a lot in previous days, isn't it? As gold also. And I don't know what is the current prices, but it will get back to a high level anyways. It's inevitable, by the way. And right now there is reports, by the way, in the media that there is a blackout all over there, all over the Ukraine, in most of the regions. Let me open the. Let me show you this news, by the way. So, blackout occurred across Ukraine. Rianos is reporting most regions of Ukraine experienced emergency power outages due to a problem in power grid. Strana UA reports blackout affected Kiev, Kiev region, Chernigov, Sumy, Zhytomyr, Dnipropetrovsk, and Odessa regions. Water was lost in all districts of the Ukrainian capital, and their subway in Kharkov and Kiev was also disrupted. There are currently problems with their voltage levels and their power supply due to the situation in their unified power grid, said Vladimir Skichko, representative of their Kharkov regional power company. Energy Minister Denis Shmigal attributed the situation to a technological disruption and their shutdown of power lines between the Romanian and Moldavian power systems, as well as between Western and Central Ukraine. Nuclear power plants were disconnected. According to source at Strana UA, one unit at the South Ukraine nuclear power plant has been shut down due to an emergency, while another has been forced to reduce power. Power has also been reduced at the Rovner nuclear power plant. Power outages have also affected their neighboring Moldova, the Republic's Ministry of Energy reported. So, yeah, some blackout all over their Kiev-controlled territory. Although no Russian strikes, by the way. Russia is maintaining this agreement on energy ceasefire and probably will continue to do so until 1st or 2nd of February, and then we will see. Maybe sides will agree to prolong this energy ceasefire until, I don't know, for another week or maybe another month. We will find out. But in this particular case, right now, there is power outages all over the Kiev-controlled territory, and it's due to some technological issues there on the ground. There, no Russian strikes. No Russian strikes there. Let me check TASS news agency. Also, maybe there have some other breaking news. Cabinet of Ministers is introducing a temporary ban on gasoline and diesel exports until July 31st. The Russian Armed Forces liberated Toretsk and Petrovka settlements, by the way. Well, great. Russian troops have liberated the villages of Troitsk in the Donetsk People's Republic and Petrovka in Zaporozhye region. Defense Ministry confirmed this information. Great, by the way. That's good. Every time I finish news segments, I'm forgetting time to time. I have to check for breaking news media platforms and only then finish the live stream. But usually I'm forgetting to do so. because there's always something new, isn't it? Live streams last for an hour and a half at least, right? So obviously there are reports during this hour, and they're 90 minutes, right? So okay, by the way, okay, let's. I don't know. Should I? Should I end the live stream now, dear friends? It's already 2 hours and 15 minutes. Christopher Sorella is commenting. Hello, everyone. Have you seen this video? Terrifying Russian Zala Lancer drone cripple Ukrainian tanks and artillery. Oh, I have seen numerous number of those videos, by the way, when Russian Lancet drone and all their variations of the Lancet and other drones too, by the way, annihilating military equipment of their hostile side, tanks, artillery systems, infantry fighting vehicles, everything, right? Once this conflict will end, by the way, I'm quite sure Russian companies that are engaged in the production of these drones, including Lancet, by the way, drones, oh, they're gonna have numerous orders, by the way, because they prove themselves to be extremely useful tools against all sorts of hostile targets, right? So yes, of course, I have seen many videos of Russian drone strikes. Dear friends, let's finalize today's live stream on that. Thank you very much for your attention, for your support. Have a wonderful day. Greater upcoming Sunday, obviously. Tomorrow, what time I will launch live stream tomorrow? I don't know. Maybe traditional 3 p.m. or maybe a bit late. I don't know. I don't know myself yet. Of course, I will make announcement about live stream on my Telegram channel, Twitter X page, and on community chat page on YouTube. So yeah, okay, this is it, dear friends. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful day. Take care, and see you tomorrow. Bye.